one of the best reconciliation conversations I've ever seen on television.
So good.
And I love the line, I'm not sure I like who we've been playing. Let's play someone different. And that is everything to me. Hey y'all, we're the good doctors of Abby Research. I am Dr. Kristen.
I'm Dr. Erin.
And we have made it to the end of season 2 of Bridgerton. We hope you have enjoyed our measured enthusiasm along the way. We will be talking a lot in this recap, episode analysis, discussion, whatever the hell we're calling these things, about both what happened and what we wished would have happened. Next in the playlist, and next week or whenever you're watching this, is going to be our understanding of the themes of the entire season, and also what we hope for season 3. So all of our hopes and wishes in this episode will be for what we wished was in this season.
Yes, but I will say, having said that, I loved this episode.
Totally loved it, and we should also admit that is a change of perspective from Dr. Erin.
Yeah, so, too long didn't read. I binged this season, and on a very tired, very stressful day, watched episodes 7 and 8, and was not happy with them.
No, and so we spent all of our corporate retreat talking about how she wasn't happy with
I wasn't happy with it. So, and Dr. Kristen hadn't caught up yet to watching them. She knew a lot of the things that happened.
This is why I read spoilers, so I can emotionally prepare myself to be disappointed and then move on.
Yeah, I like to live in my disappointment and then move on. I take time to reflect on things. And so I decided before we filmed the last 2 episodes that I would rewatch them, and boy was I in my feelings when I watched them. And I think I said to you offline before we started filming that through our discussion of episodes 5 and 6, I got to a place where I was like, I can choose whether to accept the story that they're telling.
Yep.
Whether that's the story I wanted them to tell or not.
Yep. And
you made the excellent point that, like, they decided what story they were telling and they told it. They were consistent about that. You can see how almost everything, like, follows through that main storyline. And once I accepted that and then watched episodes 7 and 8, I was like, these are good episodes. These are good episodes for what story they're telling. And it diverged very differently from the book, especially in terms of how Kate and Anthony get together and then how they realize that they love each other. In the book, they get together well before that. And then they kind of grow into their love for each other, similarly to Daphne and Simon. Which maybe that's one of the reasons why they changed it, because as we have talked about before, there's a lot of criticism to Julia Quinn that books 1 and 2 in the Bridgerton series are very similar. Who knows? But yes, I have turned corners. I've changed my mind. I loved this episode. I'm very happy with what they did with it. I will always wish that we got more Kate and Anthony time being together, but I have accepted my fate.
I love it. So I will say one of my overall criticisms about every Shondaland show is that they need that Coco Chanel quote of, like, let's take one thing off.
Yeah.
Just one thing. Just 1 or 2 or 9 storylines. I think the show would have been stronger if we didn't really do anything with Will and the club. If we would have spent more time on that. And I never need the Featheringtons. So if we had unpacked more Bridgerton sibling time, things like that, all of that would have, you could still tell Kate and Anthony the way that you wanted to, which I disagree with. And I don't find as compelling as the book. I'll just be really honest. I just don't find as compelling as the book. But it's always the circus of so many things.
Yeah.
And so that's part of my problem with the pacing, too, is that we got like 4 minutes of them being happy, 3 of which were taken up by them kissing, which is fine. But like, I'm here for the witty repartee. So we'll get to that in a minute. So up front, I both completely accept it. I found this episode delightful, and it infuriated me all at the same time.
Yes.
Because we can be many things at once.
We, in fact, always are many things at once.
We still have Theo's sharp plot device.
Bless him.
So we know that this is like 1 to 3 weeks. I heard different things. Whistledown has not published for about 3 weeks, but Kate's only been in a coma for a week. But I thought those happened on the same day, so I don't really know what's happening.
Me neither.
But Kate's in a coma. My favorite part about Kate being in a coma was when the Queen offered to send a necklace to a woman in a coma.
I'll send her some of my necklaces. Yes, that would be kind.
Just loved that. And so we have a lot of the Canthony is caught up in that. So first of all, let's do Theo. Let's do Theo and Eloise and Pen.
Yeah.
So Eloise figures out that Pen is Lady Whistledown. Is the summary of this whole situation.
Yes, it is. With the help of Theo for a little bit.
Theo's involved.
Plot device Theo.
Plot device Theo Sharp with the eyebrows McGee. Helped her figure it out, but our Eloise is a sharp one when she takes her head out of her own butt and pays attention to humans other than herself. And she realizes this. Their meltdown in Penelope's bedroom at the Featherington Ball broke my little heart in 17 pieces.
It did.
Because while I've never had that fight with a friend, I'm very grateful I've never had that fight with a friend. My friend trauma is different. I felt like that strongly about not knowing someone. Like I have felt that kind of like guttural level. They did a great job. I appreciate that no one can hold a fake accent while they're angry. This is like a famous acting thing. So our Nicola was from Galway for most of that fight. Instead of from wherever the hell Penelope's from.
Mayfair,
thank you. But it was all really exactly how two 19-year-olds would break up. And I appreciated the developmental authenticity of how betrayed, angry, overwhelmed, all of the things that they would be, which is if either one of them had an adult in their lives that they could talk to, this would have been smoother sailing.
Yeah, I mean, my notes for that scene, I wrote down, like, they said everything to each other that two best friends would say to each other in this moment. When you realize that the person you thought knew you best in the world has, in fact, been keeping secrets.
And also, the person that knows you best knows just how to hurt you.
Yeah, and that, like... and that's, hurt people, and they knew exactly what to say to each other because they knew their weaknesses, they knew their insecurities. And it was super authentic. It was super painful. I'm not sure I love where they're going with Pen-Louise or Pollen right now. But I will give them some time to suss it out. It's hard. It's hard based on the what the books give them. I can recognize that. This all feels escalated, but again, it was escalated when we got the reveal of who Lady Whistledown was in the first season. So we don't have any idea what's happening in season 3, and we'll talk about that in our recap. But we have some thoughts that it could be all of their story or any of their stories in terms of the romance that is next.
My thing with this particular story is, once again, I would not have chosen to reveal Lady Whistledown. I completely understand why they did, especially because spoilers and all those kind of things. I also don't understand why they couldn't have given, in that case though, why could they not have given Eloise a different fascination this year? Like, why did that have to keep happening, I guess? But it was one of those, like, I looked back after I finished the episode last night and I thought about all of the different choices they made. And at every intersection, they made this choice or this choice. And they kept down this path. And this is the logical conclusion of this path.
Yeah. And
it makes complete sense that these two teenagers would behave like this. Also, Colin ripping Penelope in half accidentally is canonical.
Yeah, first
it happens at the Featherington Ball, and it is not until 10 years later in the books that they get together. They are 10 years older when they get together. And there is a jump between 3 and 4 of 10 years. And that's when Colin goes traveling. So there's a lot of like, okay, everyone needs to grow up here.
Yeah.
Like, everybody needs a chance to grow up. And Pen and Eloise are very close in the books, but not this kind of... I don't think we're ever given to believe that they are like soulmates the rest of their lives. Like, they were really close when they were young, and by the time we pick up with them in 28, 29, they have distanced, but they haven't broken up. So this addition of the trauma is going to be, I mean, I think they're still good friends, but like this level of like, they're not wallflowers anymore. They're not all of this stuff anymore. And you are different at 19 and at 29.
Yeah, I mean...
So I don't know what they're going to do because there is no trauma between them in the canon, in the book canon.
Right. I would have to go back and reread them again to see, one of the big plot points in books 4 and 5 for Eloise and Penelope is that Eloise has determined that they will be old spinsters, like, living together because they've gotten to 28 and they're like, this is it, we're done.
And Penelope did not agree to that in typical Eloise fashion.
Yeah, Penelope was like, I'm kind of in love with Colin, but she didn't say that. But eventually when Colin's relationship is revealed, that is the trauma that prompts Eloise to run away.
And she's very clear, it's not even a trauma. Of course, of course.
Yeah, it's not, she's not upset about them being together. She's just like lost.
Yeah, like, oh, my entire plan, my entire life hasn't worked. So these are very different dynamics.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think they do feel a lot more emotionally, like, connected in the series than they do in the books. And it could just be, like, the visual representation of it. It's clear Nicola Coughlan and Claudia Jessie have fantastic chemistry together.
I think a lot of it's the visualization of it. And that we've gotten more time with them. Like, we don't spend any time with them in book 1. So, like... Yeah, like it's not that kind of. They were one of the storylines I was glad we got visualized.
Same.
I don't.
But now that they've done it, they have to contend with so much more, and they have to keep us interested in a storyline that doesn't give them a lot of source material.
Correct. And again, I mean, I'm just never going to choose the trauma direction for my storytelling. I'm always going to choose the soft direction. I'm realizing there are people that watch this that have read my fan fictions and are going to start like putting receipts. Like, really? You don't lean into the trauma?
You don't choose trauma ever? Really? Interesting. We don't need to hear from you right now. Thank you. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times in what we choose to read for funsies,
we lean into resolved trauma, not festering trauma.
Correct, and that is in direct opposition to the foundation of Shondaland dramas.
100%. There's a reason I don't watch any other of the shows. So that's Pen Louise and even kind of Colin. I could talk at length about what Colin says about Penelope.
Maybe we can save that for the recap, because I think a big theme we'll go through the relationships. Yeah.
I think that, and I was about to say, in terms of what I hope for season 4, I'll say this, that exact conversation happens in the book, I'll say it again. So I know Twitter is so angry he said that stuff. I just want everyone to remember he's like a 24-year-old boy. He is undercooked as hell. He's hungry all the time. He doesn't know what's going on with his life. And he has so strongly friend-zoned her.
Oh, boy.
That the idea of procreating with her, I don't think it has anything to do with fat shaming or fat phobia or her body in particular. But, like, he grew up with her. He is closer to her than he is close to Eloise. It is Benedict and Eloise.
Yeah.
And Colin has been left out of that. And so Colin found Penelope. Like, that is why he said that. It is terrible. It is hurtful. But everyone has said it about somebody. So, like...
I have a slightly different interpretation of why he said that. I think in part it is 100% because he's friend-zoned her. But they also... Like, he gives us the line, "I will always look after you, Penelope." And so I think in some way he's doing it to like stop the gossip or like protect her in a way that like
maybe, yeah.
I don't think it's straight up like I can't ever. Although in the book, you know, we do get a scene with him where he's on the steps with his brothers outside Bridgerton house, and she overhears him say like, "I could never marry Penelope Featherington." And then it's really awkward because she comes out and it's clear that she heard him and whatever. And that's a scene that we get. So I think there might be part of that to her because, you know, he does give her that. I will always look after you. You are special to me. So I think in his mind, he's like, I'm protecting her like I would protect Eloise by like completely denying this so that she's not the, you know, talk of the ton. I don't know. But it was always going to happen. So I was very excited about their dance. They're adorable. And then when that happened, I was like, yeah, okay.
This is a piece of that journey. We got to get there because so much of Penelope's journey is finding herself worthy of love.
Yeah.
And she needs to understand.
Yeah. And realizing that she might not end up with Colin.
And she needs to understand that following someone around with adoration in your eyes isn't love.
Yeah.
And that's a important story for outcasts everywhere to realize.
Yeah, she has to realize that she gets to be her own person, and as her own fully realized person, she is deserving of love. And that is not currently the relationship that she has with Colin.
Or with herself. So
so that has to change.
Absolutely.
And, you know, Shondaland, we change through trauma.
We change. Well, we should sew that their flag means like their flag means trauma. Like that's what they should sew. That's what they should sew on it. So speaking of things that will never change, Portia Featherington.
Oh Lord.
My favorite. What I wrote down is that Portia Featherington will always survive. She is the Twinkie of the ton.
Yeah, she will survive the ton apocalypse.
So essentially, what happens is Jack's nightmare blows up in his face because Colin blows it up because Colin, God love him, somebody found Regency Google and figured out that rubies do not grow in Georgia. And Colin blows up their spot. Jack's like, okay, no problem. Portia, we're going to run to the Americas. And then at the kind of end of the ball, Jack's like, okay, let's go. And Portia's like, absolutely not. You absolute idiot. I'm never leaving my girls. Whatever. There's a whole lot of machinations between there. I didn't enjoy the kiss. Did not enjoy that. That felt... But I did enjoy... I always enjoy Polly Walker. Like, she is doing the best. I love that every single time she's overwhelmed, it's this. It's like her comfort... This is her security blanket.
Throw that chest forward, girl.
I love her armor dresses. I love... Of everyone on that show, I think I would have the most fun dressing her.
She looks like indestructible in every scene.
In every scene.
Yeah.
She's on my husband's laminated cheat card, and I like every time she comes on screen, he like looks at me and goes, see why she's there. Like, yes, honey, I see. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
honey,
you.
I do. Thank you. It's been noted.
It's been noted. He fell in love with her in Rome, by the way, if people are wondering where else she's been in.
She would be glorious in a toga. Like,
she was
draping dress. Yeah.
She was something special in Rome. Her and the Damian Lewis, they were great in Rome.
Oh, yes.
Anyway, who's a what's it? So for my perspective, like that's really what you need to know about everything that happened with the Featheringtons. It doesn't advance. We are in the exact same place in the end of season 2 as we were in the end of season 1.
Yep.
Portia has more money. That's the only difference. She will take all of the money from the scheme and use it to live their lives.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, for me, that was fundamentally the most frustrating part was when that scene happened. I was like, damn, Portia, that's insane. And then I was like, but that was the lesson we got from the first season. Like, what we learned from the first season was that Portia will do whatever it takes to protect her daughters.
Yep.
What we learned from the second season was that Portia will do whatever it takes to protect her. Did we need to learn that again?
Evidently we did.
I'm confused.
So, again, my summary of Bridgerton, less Featheringtons, more Bridgertons.
So many more Bridgertons.
So that's it. So now let's talk about the Sharma Sisters, because there is one particular scene with them I just adore. So Kate doesn't wake up until about 20 minutes into the episode. 20, 30 minutes. And when she finally does, we get a lot of like Kate self-flagellation, a lot of stuff. But what I would like to discuss is that Edwina and she have one of the best reconciliation conversations I've ever seen on television.
So good.
And I love the line, "I'm not sure I like who we've been playing. Let's play someone different." And that is everything to me. Like, that was like, okay. Because then that sets up to how they're going to behave at the ball. That's at the Featherington Ball. That sets up, I think, how we're going to see... And I'll tell you my hopes and dreams for Edwina moving forward in our recap. I think we're going to constantly see that they are now, we talked about this journey, that part of the journey of romance is balance and finding who you are. And Edwina has now showed up as herself, not the crafted person on a mission who needs to land this person. Edwina is now Edwina Sharma in her full glory. And here we go. And oh my gosh, I wish we could get a whole season of her. She's the best.
She was phenomenal in 7 and 8. She was phenomenal. That actress was
the best.
She was so good. Yeah, I mean, I the line I wrote down was, "Might we bring these new selves to the Featherington Ball tonight?" Oh! And like, what I loved from this, right, was that, you know, this is the story of two people who lost their fathers. Mothers disappeared into grief, and they took on all these responsibilities that their siblings didn't ask them to. And their siblings had to be a huge part in forgiving them and telling them that it was okay for them to choose themselves.
Yep.
So Kate was never going to choose herself
unless Edwina told her to.
Unless Edwina told her to. And that's what she says. Like, she's telling her, you have to be your full self, because what the F are we doing on this planet if you're not? Like... she had to give her permission. In a way, like, nobody gave Anthony permission, but they all told him how much of a numpty he was being, enough that, like, he was like, oh, okay, I should, like, choose also myself.
we don't like who you are.
Yeah, they told him enough of that.
Yeah.
The scene where he clears the entire Bridgerton sitting room of his siblings by being, like, peak Viscount energy, I think was a revelation for our Anthony. But yeah, we couldn't get to the end of Kate and Anthony together if they didn't have that conversation. But it was beautiful. I loved it.
It was great. So now we're going to head to the Featherington Ball.
Please.
There is some really great, like, there is just some incredible Bridgerton moments. I could talk about Violet and Anthony forever.
Before we get to the Bridgerton Ball, can I just say that we got a Ben and Eloise swing scene?
I loved it. And I said the second son and the second daughter are the imposter syndrome chiefs.
I know. Imposter, party of two. Oh, they're the best. I love them. Continue.
Yeah. So Featherington Ball, I love many, many things. I loved that the sisters danced together.
Yay, so cute.
I love that they dressed Kate in orange.
Uh-huh.
Because no one else in that ton is going to wear orange, and she just lit up the whole room.
Gorgeous.
I love that she and Anthony danced to Wrecking Ball.
Woo!
I love that Queen Charlotte's hair was actually a grotto. Like, it was like 3-dimensional. And
I have to interject and say that I loved Anthony showing her the fingers. Was the cutest thing. They're so adorable together. He was like, how many fingers? And she was like, 3. He goes, oh. I was like, oh, I died. And I wrote, for me, that was the point where they become a team.
Yep.
Where when Kate's like, should we stop? And Anthony was like, don't take your eyes off me. We're the only ones that matter. And that's when Queen Charlotte, that's what she sees when she looks at them, and she's like, okay, I can fix this.
I can be the hero.
She's like, adjusts her grotto. I got this. I got you, boo. Like, it was amazing.
And then she just smacks down Lady Calber in, like, the most beautiful way. I loved that. And then her wink to Kate at the end as she's walking out is like...
Also, can we please... We'll talk about hopes and dreams for Edwina. We keep teasing our season 2 recap, and we will. But I love the reference to cute nephew, Prince.
I know. Prince of Prussia or whatever, yeah.
I know. Bring him back. He was adorable. They would make such a cute power couple. Yes.
Freddie Stoma is not doing anything according to his IMDb. So, like, let's get on this.
Come on.
And then, just overall, this is one of the greatest proposals of all time.
Yes.
If they had to do all of this nonsense to get me that weighty of a proposal, I'll kind of take it.
I will take all the heavy breathing. I will.
I'll take it. I still prefer some of the pacing of the books.
Correct.
I will always hate the pacing of this season.
I know.
But that proposal, like, my husband even said good job. Like,
yeah, I mean, he used her full name.
that,
He realized that he had to tell her that he loved her. And I mean, we get this through we get a proposal from him in this episode where he says, like, you know, I'm so sorry, you deserved more than fucking under a pergola.
that was lovely. Like, I wanted to give you more than that. And I was like,
Yeah.
So I just want to, like, PSA to men everywhere.
Yeah.
We don't care about the location
No.
as much as we care about other elements
Yeah.
of the situation that you can focus on regardless of location.
Yeah, and it was, you know, I think I just loved that he realized that, you know, he had to actually humble himself before her, because the way he phrased it made it sound like duty, and that was the one thing Kate was never going to say yes to.
And then she says to her mom later, like, he doesn't love me. And I was like, oh,
Yes.
you Muppets. Oh,
Yeah,
you
he
Muppets.
only asked me out of duty, and I was like, yeah, well, given the way he phrased that, I would say that. So then for him to just come straight out and be like, I can't live without you.
I couldn't
can't
visit you. I could not visit you while you were sick.
Because I couldn't lose you. I love you. I don't care if you accept it. You
I
probably
loved that.
won't.
Knowing you, you probably won't.
Won't. But I need you to feel it because I feel it. And I was like, oh my God. Amazing. And yeah, it was just, it was all the warm fuzzies. It was all the warm fuzzies. And I will accept, as we said at the beginning of this chat, that if that's the story they decided they wanted to tell, they did a damn fine job of getting to that scene.
Absolutely. So then we get the epilogue in which they are already married. We get some sex and nakedness so that Simone Ashley gets her full frontal. That she was obviously paid extra for. So let's get that in there for her.
Get the girl her paycheck.
She is illegally beautiful. Just illegally. It's actually annoying. We get Pall Mall again.
All the Pall Mall.
We essentially just get, like, all the siblings kind of recognizing that they're just going to make out a lot. So I loved the happily ever after. And this is where, of the entire season, this is actually where I have the most problems. So I will, but I know you have some some questions and a couple of suggestions, so I'll turn it over to you before I go on my rant.
Yes. I will say, I wanted to just interject. We do get a couple stories wrapped up in the in-between between the proposal. Yeah. Penelope starts writing as Whistledown again, shocking no one. Ben is possibly giving up painting. TBD. He is closing down the studio. He has Antony kind of apologizes in his Antony way and says, like, if you want to paint, like, I love you for who you are. This whole Antony journey of, like, I will love my siblings for who they are and be their big brother and not the Viscount. The conversation he had with Gregory actually brought me to tears. 2 actual tears. Colin apologizes to Mondrich and brings all his friends to his club. Again, ask me why I care, but apparently they want us to know about it, so it may come up in season 3. Eloise is by herself and sobbing with all her letters out, which is quite sad. Yes, and then we get the epilogue. We learn that obviously they're married and they've been traveling for 6 months. And now they're all playing Pall Mall at the Aubrey house. I would like to point out, and I will bring it up again in our season 2 recap, first of all, the taxonomy of Kate's hair.
Yes.
Followed almost perfectly the hallmark trope of the heroine starts with her hair very tight and up, and by the end it is down. So, like, by the ball, the Featherington Ball, she's got this, like, lovely curl. Straight up married Kate is, like, gloriousness. When she is her most vulnerable throughout this whole season, she has her hair down. And she looks very young. So we get that. Yeah, so what I would have liked to see happen, cut out a little bit of some of the stuff we talked about that we don't understand why it was there. And you can have a mini montage of what happened in that 6-month time period between the proposal, the Featherington Ball, and the Pall Mall game. Show us a scene of Kate and Anthony kissing at the altar in a wedding dress. Oh, they got married. Everyone's so happy in the church. Cut to Kate and Anthony in Paris, like laughing in a cafe. I don't know. Give us something. A mini montage. Use a montage. The only montage I can remember this whole season was the Anthony as a Viscount montage, where he's like doing all his paperwork. Come on, kids. Come on. And then cut to 6 months later, you know, naked in the bed, shagging like rabbits. Like, just give us a bit more context. You didn't give us enough of happy Cantony. Regardless, like, we've accepted this story the way they've told it for television. So this is a way you can make it up to all us fans that are like, okay, they should have been fucking since episode 5 and they weren't. Make up for it. Show us some romance. And I agree with you, like, why you and I both love that, you know, is we identify with Kate for different reasons, but mostly because we're all sarcastic ladies. And we love the Bants. So, because they didn't give us any of the montage romance, all we get of them in this epilogue is snogging, which is great, but like, ish, and yelling at Newton, which was cute. But yeah, so that's what I would have liked to see in the epilogue, fleshed out just a little bit more. But my final line, which makes me so happy to actually say it, is that they are happy and they are themselves, and they are happy because they are themselves. And thus, balance is restored to Aubrey Hall, and we close the book on season 2. But what would you, may I present your soapbox for this epilogue?
The limitations of television annoy me. So, it makes absolutely no canonical literary story sense that the entire family is not there, including Simon.
Yeah, facts.
It makes no sense. This is the first scene where it doesn't make sense that he's not there. Like, the first time they're all there with the Pall Mall, they were just married, he's all dooky. 2 years in a row, he's not at Aubrey Hall? No, that's not how the Bridgertons work. That's not how Simon works. Like, that's... Also, she should have more kids by now, because we're on year 2 of Aubrey Hall. Like...
Yeah, she definitely by this stage has, I think, at least 2 babies. Yeah, and like...
So I was like, I get that Regé Jean Page was like, deuces, everybody. Like, fine.
Totally don't have Daphne in that scene. Fine. Problem solved.
Fine. And so Daphne was. Like, she's the knowing look at the end. But I was like, this is why television sucks. Because he should be there. But because we can't get the actor that plays him, we can't have him there. What I would have appreciated is somebody saying, Simon's in the house.
Yeah.
With the children. Like, Simon's coming tomorrow. Like, something that acknowledges
he was finishing up some business in town. He arrives tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thankfully, he misses their snog fest. Something.
Yeah. Could somebody take the piss out of them for, like, ruining the Pall Mall game because they can't keep their hands off each other? Like, that's more Bridgerton than these sly smiles. Like, we're 6 months in. They are past benevolently letting them make out. Like, this is Pall Mall. Like, this is warfare. So, like, that felt weird. It all just felt kind of... It felt television-y and not the story. I also don't need to see them kiss that much. That's just me. If you're going to give me the fully naked sex scene, amazing, then give me the Bants. Like, I love these two because of their incredible verbal chemistry as well. And we don't get any of them being happy except while they're kissing. And, like, that's cool. I know I sound contrary, but the physical stuff is never my favorite part of a romance novel. My favorite part is proving that they've built a life together. Like, show us that, like, give us another 6-month flash forward and she's pregnant, like, which happens. Like, show us something else. And so that's why I hate television. I don't hate it. But the limitations of the medium stress me out when we are doing any sort of adaptation of any... I mean, I should say, I do this about the MCU, too, if anyone is wondering. I go on long soapboxes about how everybody keeps ignoring all the rest of the stuff that's been set up. So, like, just mention that he was there. the only time they called back to season 1 for anybody but Daphne getting married was when Featherington said something about Will throwing the match. Like, lots of stuff happened. Like, we can pretend, like, people don't forget the last year of their lives.
Yeah, Marina, we got a couple Marina and Colin references.
We did get some Marina and Colin references. But, like...
throwaways. They were all throwaways.
It all just could have felt like more of a continuation, I guess.
Yeah.
But that epilogue is really where I was like, oh, for Christ, the night. Like, 2 years in a row, the Duke is not missing Aubrey Hall. So let's... And also, if you're going to try to tell me that's the same season, England only has 4 days of sunshine.
Where did it all come from?
And that kid is at least 8 months older than the baby that we saw in the beginning. So all that to say, this is a great example of Eleanor's point that Shonda is always more concerned with plot than character. And how do we make that happen? Overall, though, on the Kate and Anthony story of my dreams, F-. On the Kate and Anthony story they presented us, A+.
A+. Yeah, I agree. But I left with a much better taste in my mouth at the end of my second watch of 7 and 8. And, we'll rewatch this season at some point in its entirety, and I'll have different thoughts and feelings about it. But I'm glad I gave myself some time to reflect and accept that I was not going to get the story that I wanted, and that I should analyze the story that they gave us.
It's helpful. It's helpful.
It's hard sometimes. It's hard.
Totally.
And we talked about this. Like, it was much easier for us to separate from season 1 because we don't love Daphne and Simon's story as much as we do book 2. But I'm glad that they're continuing to make this separation, because then I have a feeling that we're going to get a real different Pollen story than the books. And that's the one I feel the most, like, protective over. And so, remind me to watch back these last 5 minutes of this episode recap before that season.
I have a feeling, and we'll talk about this more in the next video, but whatever they do with Pollen has to look so different that if we just remind ourselves all we care about at the end is that they're together.
Yeah. 'Tis true. Yeah. I think this season was a good reminder for us to remember the core theme of romance is balance, and Shondaland will always lean into the drams.
Always.
But they have shown us 2 seasons in a row they will give us the balance.
They will give us the balance without the appropriate plotting, but they'll give it to us.
So we set those expectations, and I hope they will continue to meet them.
So now, up in the playlist, or next week, again, depending on when you join us, you're going to get our Season 2 recap. Some of you will only join us for our Season 2 recap, so we will do our best to kind of give everything, as it were. If you loved this video, we really appreciate the thumbs up, because then the algorithm will tell other people to watch it. If you like the video as well, you can also subscribe to the channel, do all of the YouTubey things, and make sure you don't miss anything. Downstairs is going to be our links to our digest, which comes out once a week, and will let you know all of the things we are doing, as well as give you some food for thought for that week about how you can move through the world more empathetically. In the meantime, our hope for you is that your hair is fabulous, but does not contain a grotto, because that does look painful. But your hair is fabulous, your clothing is the exact kind of armor that you would like, and not the armor that someone else has put on you. That you deeply remember that absolutely no one has ever mined a ruby in Georgia. And that you find balance and true love, whatever they look for in your life. All the best, guys.
Bye!